Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to Waves of Healing. We are dedicated to communicate to you and provide you with information of being aware and keep open mind to alternative ways of healing, whether it's physical, emotional, or spiritual. I'm your host, Leah Yekutiel, coming to you live from Los Angeles, California, every Tuesday at 3 p.m. Pacific time. I'm a reconnective healing practitioner, a breast cancer victor, not victim, and the author of the book, Making the Breast of It. In order to learn more about me and my book, please visit my website at www.ilovemybreastcancer.com. All in one word, ilovemybreastcancer.com. And while you are visiting my website, please purchase my book and give a gift of love to somebody you love who went through breast cancer, where they can learn how to reclaim their femininity back after mastectomy or breast cancer, how to rebuild their self-confidence with one breast or none, how to accept their new image and love it, and they realize that sexuality exudes from inside out and not from outside in. And the most important thing they will learn through the many exercises in the book, how to connect with the spiritual aspect of life, where they realize that we women are not only our breasts in order to be viable, functional human beings. And as you know, doctors can diagnose us, many times misdiagnose us, but it's our responsibility to take care of our health. And that's where it comes. When you visit my website, you can download for free 25 breast health tips. And if you apply a few of them in your daily life, you'll be surprised how many cancers, how many other diseases we can prevent, because my show is all about prevention and healing versus medicating. As we know, this medication causes more side effects and more diseases than we can handle. And it's enough is enough. Now we have to take responsibility for our well-being. With that said, I want to tell you who is my guest today, which I am so excited about her. My guest today is Lisa Barnett, author of the book, The Infinite Wisdom of Akashic Records. Lisa Barnett is an internationally known teacher, consultant, and founder of Akashic Knowing School of Wisdom. She is a clear channel of divine wisdom, an energy master, and spiritual teacher. Lisa brings more than 20 years of spiritual counseling and energetic healing to her clients and students. She incorporates information from your soul's library, the Akashic Record, with energetic healing on a soul level to help you break through blocks, clear pain, fear, and karma, to create the life your heart and soul desires. And we are so blessed to have Lisa with us live today. Lisa, welcome to Waves of Healing. Are you there?
Thank you. Thank you. I'm really excited to be here and to share with you and the audience. Thank you, Leah.
Well, this is wonderful. You know, before we got on air, I told you that I am a Akashic reader myself, and you were the person who I listen to you to many different internet shows, and that's how you encourage me to get involved with Akashic Records, and I really want to thank you for that.
Oh, thank you. You know, that is so exciting to me to hear because, of course, my intention is to bring the Akashic Records to the world, and that was what the Akashic Beings of Light told me about 15 years ago. They said, you know, your sole purpose, one of your sole purposes, is to bring the Akashic Records back to the earth and back to humanity. And at the time, I had 3 small children. They were like 3, and 5. And I said, you're crazy. You know, I'm busy. How am I supposed to bring the Akashic Records back to the world? And so, anyway, but I listened and kept, you know, stepping right along, and here we are today.
Isn't that wonderful? What a small world, you know? When you are in the right path, things happen, right?
Yes, absolutely. So it really, you know, it really can make a difference. And so I'd love to, you know, kind of just jump in and give a little definition of the Akashic Records, unless you've done that.
Can you clarify what are the Akashic Records and what it is all about? I mean, is this a library that they can go and look for it? What is it?
Yeah, I would love to clarify because people have heard the word Akashic or Akasha, you know, for many years, and there's also an old belief out there that says, you know, we're not allowed to go into the Akashic Records. And so, you know, kind of as an aside, that held me back for about 5 years. So the Akashic Records, each person has their very own Akashic record, and it is the record of your personal soul, the journey that your soul has taken throughout time immemorial. So when your soul decided to individuate from Source and go on a journey, which is really what we do as souls, your record started. Everything started to be recorded. And so imagining that you have your own library is a very handy way to do it. Some people see it as a book, or some people see it as a big stone library with many, many, many books. Okay. They're all great images, of course, but the truth is the Akashic Records is energetic. It's stored in the information arm of Source. I always say it's really stored in divine source energy is where all of our stories are written. And the beautiful piece is that each of us does have its own library with its own librarians. So, of course, you know this because you access the records, Leah, but you get to talk to your record keepers, your own personal beings of light, your librarians, if you like, you know, that kind of image. And yours are different than mine are different than each and every listener out there. So we're very unique and individual. We all have our own library with our own beings of light that keep our records and are literally there to help us and guide us. So to me,
it's really amazing to me. When I first learned about the Akashic Records, as you said earlier, I was told and I understood that only highly involved spiritual individuals can access their own records and have access to other people's records. But I was mistaken, I guess, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, so this is the story that the Akashic beings of light, I call them different things. Sometimes we call them record keepers or beings of light or, you know, masters or teachers. So there's actually many beings that keep our records for us, and that's why there's kind of a variety of names. So I often will just say beings of light to refer to the general group. But these beings of light are here to support us, and the story that they tell us is that for much of the history of humanity here on planet Earth, we actually had access to this information and this wisdom. Back when the world was much more magical, mystical, where we were much more spiritual and connected to the earth and the angels and the inner dimensions and even the elementals, the fairies and the gnomes and we had we really were just more spiritually based and connected to Source or to God or whatever, the universe that we called it.
Yeah.
And then what happened is about 1,000 years ago, man started to misuse the information they were getting in the Akashic Records, and they started to use this information to win wars, to find people's riches or their gold, to take over. And so they used it more for power, and they used it in a way that was out of integrity. It was it was really not at all the way the Akashic Records were meant to be used. And so the beings of light pulled the vibration away from the planet.
Interesting.
And this is where the only people who could access the records were highly evolved beings who were usually the mystics, the prophets, the teachers, the seers, the healers. And so those were the only people who could have still access it, because they had to be very evolved and of a high vibration in order to reach that energy.
So this is a whole myth that it's coming through right now. There is such a big awakening spiritually that people get more involved and they realize how they can gain their power by accessing their own records.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So this is what we see if we look at the kind of some of the history of the Akashic Records, which, of course I look at, is Edgar Cayce, back in around 1915, 1920, started to access the Akashic Records using a hypnotic trance. So he would go into like a sleeping hypnotic state in which he could channel information from the Akashic Records. He was one of the only people that we know of who was really channeling the Akashic Records for health reasons, to do readings for people. So
right.
That's, what is that, 95 years ago? Wow, that's a long time. Almost 100 years ago. And so what the Akashic Master said is that the vibration really started to raise enough around the 60s, 1960, that more and more people could start to access the Akashic Records. So Edgar Cayce was a high vibrational man, and so he could do this through a hypnotic trance. And then in 1960, I didn't get to tell you this whole story, Leah, but a gentleman named Johnny Prochaska was given a sacred prayer, and he was down in Mexico City, down in Mexico, and he met a woman he had dreams of, an old Mayan woman who took him on a trek into the mountains where these beings of light came to him and gave him this sacred prayer. Mm-hmm. Now, Johnny Prochaska traveled around the United States and taught the prayer to many, many people.
What years are you talking about?
This was so he got the prayer somewhere in the early 60s, and then he literally traveled and taught people that he knew, probably, in the 60s, 70s. I don't know if he taught all the way into the 80s. But he did teach here in California. He taught, different places. I know he lived in Arizona for a while. He went back to Mexico. He actually died in Mexico. I actually had a date at one point, but I don't exactly remember. But it was in the early 2000s, I think, or late 1990s. Anyway, but so he had a vibrational key, a sacred prayer that he taught to many people, and he taught a woman named Mary Parker. And Mary Parker is the one who taught Linda Howe.
Uh-huh.
And who
really,
taught,
right.
I actually studied also with Mary Parker, although when I met her, she wasn't teaching. She was a very elderly woman. As far as I know, she's still alive, but she's up in her 90s now. And I studied with a group of women who use the same vibrational key, the same prayer that both Linda Howe and I learned, though she and I were never in a class together. She left before I started working there with them. Okay. And then, so that's how come she doesn't know me. But both of us were called. Linda Howe, earlier than I, was called to start her own school and received her own sacred prayer. And when the Akashic Masters, they told me about 15 years ago I was supposed to bring this work out to the world. But for many, many years, I worked as a teacher and teaching that same prayer that both Linda and I learned that was given to Johnny Prochaska back in 1960. Okay. That's the original work that I learned, and then the masters finally said it's time to start your own school because you're very galactic, and we'll give you many different prayers that are related to where the Earth is now, the vibration of where the Earth is now, instead of where the Earth was back in 1960.
I see. Okay, but now I understand why you have different prayers in your book versus Linda Howe. She has different prayers because each individual of you received your own
prayer,
specific prayers, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes, now, so Linda Howe received a prayer. She still uses the one prayer. The Akashic Masters have given me about 7 prayers now because they said that they wanted me to have different prayers that resonate with different galactic beings. So they're in resonance with different people. So I have quite a few different prayers that I've been given. Like I say, there's 6 that are for opening your own records, and the 7th prayer is to access the records for another. So a little different.
Absolutely fascinating. I'm telling you, the more I learn about Akashic Records, the more I want to get involved deeply, more and more in it.
Yes.
Lisa, I have another question here. How the Akashic Records reading and studying can help heal people physically? Is it does Akashic Record has the ability to heal physical illness or just emotional illness?
Well, I'd love to hear your take on this also, Leah, but what I hear is that much of physical illness is emotional based.
It starts with emotional. You're right.
Yes.
You're right.
And so with the Akashic Records, what I see very often is that when we go into our records and say, why do I have this illness? Where did it start from? Is there an emotion behind it? I actually have a healing tool in my book where we literally learn to go through and clear old emotions that are stuck in our bodies. And that's kind of the seed that could be the seed of an illness. And so when we go into the records and we explore this and we release it and we acknowledge it and we do all of our work around it, right, we often can go in and clear that trauma, that emotion, that pain, that fear. And when we can clear and release that, the body can let go of the illness because it got your attention. A lot of what our bodies are doing are getting our intention, or they're holding our intentions. And so I have worked with clients who have been ill, and when I go into their Akashic Records, the Akashic Masters will say that at one point when they were in great emotional pain, they wished they were dead, and their body is actually trying to fulfill their wish.
In this lifetime, you mean?
In this lifetime. So sometimes I'll work with someone who may have had an abusive childhood, and of course this poor child is scared to death, and they just think, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to live. And of course, it's not an uncommon, it's not a bad or negative thing. It's our fear that's speaking, but literally our bodies are pretty smart, and they're going to take that to heart. And especially if this abuse goes on for years and such, and it actually creates this trauma in the body that the body is, literally trying to kind of help us to let go and to move on and to get out of our trauma and our challenge and our abuse or whatever it might be. So there are different sorts of things that trigger illnesses in our bodies, absolutely, and some of them, not all of them, but some of them I see that we can at least acknowledge, learn more about, do some work to clear and heal and release. Sometimes we find, even in the Akashic Records, that we're guided to even use a different modality, like it can be very useful to use EFT, to use tapping to get some of the emotions out of the body, or use the reconnection to upgrade our DNA, right?
Yes, absolutely. I've done all this. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I've done all this, and I've done Akashic Record, and it's always fascinates me what kind of power we have, which we are not aware about. And here you come with Akashic Records, introduce it to masses, and tell us, hey, you know what? You can do the same thing. Find out about yourself. I find it fascinating. It's really empowering.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yeah. Thank you for saying that, because I really believe this is one of the reasons that this is my really whole crusade. And I do Akashic readings for people. I do consultations all the time. But my really biggest purpose is to teach it to the world, because I believe this is one of the most self-empowering tools that we have here on the planet. And one of the reasons is that because you have this team of light beings that are here supporting you and working with you, and the Akashic field, again, is part of divine source energy. So you're literally raising your vibration, which is healing in its own right. Mm-hmm. The Akashic Masters have given me 12 different healing prayers to use. And there's one for physical level healing. And if you like, I'll read it for the group, for anyone who wants to step into that energy. It's a very beautiful physical level healing one.
Before that, Lisa, what is your URL where people can go and visit your website and learn more about you and what your teaching are all about?
Oh, absolutely. So my main website is AkashicKnowing.com, and I'll spell it. I don't know if you put that on your page or not, but I'll spell it. It's AkashicKnowing, AkashicKnowing.com. Of course, you could type in www.akashicKnowing.com. That's my main webpage, and you'll see all about me. You'll see about consultations. You'll see the classes. I'm teaching up here in San Francisco in June, and in the Bay Area in July again. I live up in San Francisco Bay Area, so I teach up here a lot. And I'll even be going to England. I'll be teaching in the UK in October, and doing a retreat in the Caribbean. So I'm starting to travel and teach also, so people can check out my website and see the events and where I'll be teaching live. And I also teach on the phone and do consultations on the phone for everybody. I do all my work over the phone. So that's at AkashicKnowing.com. And the other thing I love to offer is free gifts. And to learn more about the Akashic Records, and the beings of light have given us a beautiful prayer of forgiveness, which is very helpful to clear karma and to really move into a state of forgiveness. And often I find that when we have been sick or we've had some illness or some challenge, we seem to get angry at ourselves, don't we, Leah? We seem to blame ourselves for it instead.
Me too, especially me, because I take all the responsibility.
Mhm.
I don't blame anybody else. I take all the responsibility on myself, and I get really tough on myself and say, I should have known better. I should have done this way. I should have done that way. And you know what? It's really hard for me to forgive myself than forgive other people.
Yes, I agree. I think that's very true for especially people who have been on a spiritual path. You know, we don't tend to blame others, we blame ourselves. But it's important that we forgive ourselves and go into that place of self-love also. So there is a prayer which I call the prayer of forgiveness, which takes in all three levels of forgiveness for others, for ourselves, for actually hurting others. So for when others hurt us, for when we hurt others, and for ourselves. And that's one of my free gifts, along with a meditation and an 18-page little booklet about the Akashic Records. So people can find that at www.theinfinitewisdom.com.
Okay, wonderful. Now,
so
can we listen to the prayer? Can you do the prayer? So
yes.
Everybody can listen and see how it affects us?
Yes, absolutely. I would love to. So let's just start with a nice deep breath, and if people can close their eyes and sit back, that's just great. And just go right along with this as though you're saying it yourself. And so we ask Divine Mother, Father, God, and beings of light of our Akashic Records, please hold us and support us as we open to receive healing and clearing on multidimensional levels. Please remove any blockage that no longer serves us from any time, place, or dimension. Please upgrade our physical and etheric bodies to hold more light with ease. Please unchain, unconstrict, clear, and open our multi-dimensional hearts on all planes, levels, and dimensions. Please move me into a state of forgiveness throughout time and space, clearing all connected karma. And we give great thanks for your divine love, wisdom, and grace. And so it is. Blessed be. Amen.
Amen. Wow. This was great. This was absolutely great. I felt like this negative energy was evaporating from my body. Is that
I love that.
Do?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, I love it. So there's 12 different healing prayers that the Akashic Masters have given me. Some of them are in my book, The Infinite Wisdom of the Akashic Records, and some of them are in, there's 3 levels of courses, three different courses to go deeper and deeper into the Akashic Records. So when I teach students, first we teach them how to access their own records. Of course, you have to, learn to walk before you learn to run, right? And so we learn to access the records for ourselves, and then we go deeper into our own records, and we learn about past lives, about soul contracts, soul path and purpose, our ancestral lineages, our genetic lineages, our soul lineage, which is connected to our soul purpose, and all about creativity. We can really step up our creativity through the Akashic Records also. So that's how I write my books, is by opening the Akashic Records, and that makes it much easier to really channel this divine wisdom through the Akashic Records. And we can do that even with painting or writing music or cooking.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so our Akashic Records can really add to our to our creativity. And then my course 3 is when you learn to access the records for another, and you start to do Akashic consultations. And so I want people to be really clear and solid in working deep in their records before they go out and start to, do it for other people, right? It kind of makes sense again to me. I'm a pretty logical, linear kind of gal. I spend a good 20 years in business, and so it feels really, right and proper to really know what you're doing before you start doing readings, right? And then I also have a certification program. So I certify people to be certified Akashic Record consultants, and then some people go on and become teachers with my school. So it's a whole program if people are looking for new careers.
This is really wonderful. Can you speak, Lisa, a little bit explain about what is karma and how the being lights can clear the karma, the old karma, and reinstall new karma and all this kind of thing that has to do with karma.
Yes, absolutely. So the way the beings of light explain karma to us, people used to look at karma very often as kind of like a punishment, like you'll be punished, you're going to have karma for that, right? It was kind of this big negative word. You'll get karma if you do that, And the truth is that as really divine, wise souls, we all come to learn and to grow. We're all literally on a spiritual path always, whether we're conscious of it or not. And so
the reason we are here on Earth, right?
Absolutely. That's it. Absolutely. And so we come to learn and to do and to grow and to, teach and to share and to love and all of these great things. And so karma is really, the way they call it is just unfinished business. So say in a past life I was married to a gentleman who wasn't who wasn't very nice. He was actually a terrible, drunk, wife beater. And so I hit him over the head and ran away. So maybe he died from that pop over the head, and maybe he deserved it because he was going to beat me again. But in that life, so I cracked his head open and ran away. No, you get some karma from this, and the truth is that the karma is not punishing me for killing him, because of course he was beating me, right? It's about learning forgiveness and love. So the incomplete cycles is that neither of us learn to love. We never learn to be caring, loving souls and individuals to each other. And so instead of being able to say, I'm sorry, I'm divorcing you, maybe I cracked him in the head and left, and so that didn't end up so well. So now in another lifetime, I'm going to say, I still want to learn about love. I still want to learn about forgiveness. So, maybe I'll marry the same guy again, and we'll see if we can figure it out again. And
when you say guy, you mean the same soul in appearance of a different person, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Let's make it clear so the listeners can understand exactly what you're talking about. Okay.
Thank you so much. Absolutely. Thank you. I forget. And actually the interesting thing, so that's a good point too, Leah, because I might marry the same soul. Of course, we're both in different bodies now. I might marry the same soul to complete that karma, but I also might marry a different soul who has the same story in their karmic pattern. So it doesn't always have to be the exact same soul.
Okay.
We're learning and healing the karma, which is kind of a pattern, so you can do it with the same soul or with a different soul. It doesn't matter so much as long as both of you in the end learn, grow, and complete the karmic cycle.
And what's going to happen if we don't learn to complete the cycle this lifetime? Then what?
Most people actually live around 800 lifetimes.
800 lifetimes? Oh, my goodness. And we still don't learn, huh?
That's why. We're slow learners.
Slow learners.
Yes, we are. We're very slow learners. So consequently, there we are. So we don't learn it. Of course, when someone is, mean, abusive, physically abusive, and emotionally, or it's very hard to stick around. And I'm not at all ever saying that you should stick around and put up with that. That's not at all what we're saying. What I'm saying is that it becomes important for you to be clear in yourself. I will not put up with this abuse any longer. I am leaving you, and I forgive you for your abusiveness because I know and see that you are a divine soul, whether you're showing up as a drunk jerk or as a bright, shiny light. I know the truth that you are always a divine soul. Each and every one of us is always a divine soul.
Yes,
right?
Of course.
Even no matter how we look, no matter how we act. And so it's about the consciousness is what completes the karma. It's about saying, I understand, I forgive you, I leave you, I will never see you again or speak to you again, I will never put up with that sort of abuse again. I complete this karmic pattern with love and forgiveness. And that's literally what the learning of the lesson is. It's not fixing them. It's not even getting them sober. So for one person, you might be able to get that person to sober up, and you may end up going on and having a happy life. And someone else may be saying, goodbye, I respect myself too much. I'm going to go on and live my life. But I forgive you. I hold nothing against you. I have no judgment towards you. I love you, unconditionally. Goodbye.
Can accessing, this is regarding relationships you're talking about, okay? About the lineage, a relationship between people. How Akashic Records, accessing Akashic Records can bring abundance and money into our life?
That's a good question. Because the interesting thing with about money and abundance is usually the reason it doesn't come into our lives is, again, because we've made past life vows, we have some old karma that's stuck in our way, and we have old beliefs that may come from our childhood or our families or even our ancestral lineage. So when we start to access our Akashic Records and ask these sorts of questions like, what's blocking me from being an abundant person, the Akashic Masters may say, well, you've taken a vow of poverty 25 times in different spiritual lifetimes. So one lifetime you were a nun, or you were a priest, you were a ascetic, you were a guru, you were a shaman, and you just always said, I give my gifts freely, I take nothing in return. And so we took vows of poverty. So many spiritual people on the spiritual path find that they struggle with that old vow and feeling okay or good about charging for their gifts.
So you're talking here about our subconscious mind, that everything is registered from 7 or 10 different generations. And we take these vows, we are not able to accomplish whatever we want to accomplish, let's say financial wise or spiritual wise, but we can release these vows, right?
Yes. Yeah, really one of the easiest ways, and this is, again, why I love the Akashic Records, one of the easiest ways to release them is, again, your records are the records of your soul. And when you go into those records and you work with your own beings of light, and they say, you have 5 vows of poverty that are blocking you, and you say, can we clear those vows? And they say to you, yes, do you understand them? And you say, yes, I understand them, and you release them, and you and these beings of light literally energetically release that vow from your Akashic record. So it really almost no longer exists. That energy shifts, and it gets to be released, and you can reclaim it for your higher purpose. So whenever we clear and release things, we actually can reclaim that energy. It's a great thing to do when we clear old energies, is because we get to reclaim it and use it in the present moment, right? So,
Lisa, next is, I totally understand what you are saying. My next question is, can individuals who take your class or all classes can do it on themselves, or they have to do one-on-one session with you?
No, you can take my class or classes and learn to do it for yourself. Absolutely. So that's the whole point. That's why I love it, because I believe that it is, like I said, really one of the most empowering tools that we have. So in Course 1, which I teach in person in San Francisco, there's a home study class on my website. All these ways, actually, you can learn from my book. So The Infinite Wisdom of the Akashic Records also teaches you to access your own Akashic Records. Now, of course, the live class or the home study class has more healing tools and just more information and, well, more me, but you literally, the Infinite Wisdom of the Akashic Records, the reason that we wrote this, and I say we because the Akashic Masters really wrote it through me, the reason we wrote this is they want to bring this ability, this gift, this very powerful tool out to the world. And so that's exactly what we're doing. So theinfinitewisdom.com is the website where you'll find the free gifts and a link to buy the book if you're interested in buying the book at Amazon, or you can get it. I was in Barnes & Noble yesterday, and it was there on the shelf. I was so excited.
Of course. Lisa, we have 2 more minutes we have. How would you summarize it in one sentence, the Akashic Records, and how helpful it is to individuals to study it?
Well, I would say that it is one of the greatest gifts that has been given to humanity in the last 100 years, the Akashic Records. It is your soul's wisdom, and you can use it to be guided, baby step by baby step, big picture issues, healing and clearing. It can literally transform your life when you learn to access your own Akashic Records. Or, of course, have an Akashic consultation with me. Or Leah, she does that too.
You said it so well. I love talking about the Akashic Record, and I know how powerful they are because I learned so much about myself when I was doing it. So yes. I really thank you so much for your knowledge, your enthusiasm, your energy in order to bring this to the masses, because I know how important it is. So thank you very, very much, and I would like to thank our listeners. And probably we'll talk soon, Lisa.
I hope so, Leah. Thank you so much for having me on your show. It's been just wonderful.
I'm so excited having people like you on my show because it enriches my life, and I'm sure it enriches all our listeners. So thank you, everybody. Till next week. Bye-bye, Lisa.
Bye-bye.